Hi, this is Brooke.
Yeah.
Hey, Brooke, this is Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Rob and I are on the line, and we're all set to go.
Okay. So, can we kick it off with an introduction?
Yeah, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brooke Webb, Director of Sales and Marketing here at Vicinity Manufacturing. Thank you all for participating in today's webinar. I know that you'll find the information that Excellus has to be quite helpful and hopefully informative. They are our go-to solution for barcode data collection and warehouse management. We do have a written seamless integration with them. And with that, I will turn it over to Rob.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. My name is Robert Waugh. I'll be driving today's presentation. You might have met me at some of the Vicinity Focus meetings that we've had over the years as we've been working with Vicinity Manufacturing closely for a number of years now. We're going to do a quick PowerPoint walkthrough, a little bit of an overview on the application and some of the benefits, and then we'll go ahead and get into a demo showing you some of the software in action working with Dynamics GP and Vicinity Manufacturing. At the end of it, because we have a larger group, we're going to try to hold most questions at the end at least, and we'll open it up for questions as we wrap up. In the meantime, just be aware your lines are muted, but you can go ahead and type in questions into the text box area in WebEx. So thanks, and I hope everybody learned something today. So what is Collect for GP? Collect for GP is our live warehouse management and barcode scanning application for Dynamics GP and Vicinity Manufacturing. What makes it really unique is it is a single shared database to the Dynamics GP and Vicinity package. So everything that you're doing on a rugged RF device as operators move around within your manufacturing facility is live updated back to the appropriate corresponding area and table structure where we execute and process those transactions live, eliminating large amounts of manual data entry and keeping your manufacturing environment real-time based on what's truly going on. It's a very scalable product. We have clients with a single small facility and 1 or 2 handhelds to clients with over 50 handhelds and a variety of locations all across the U.S., Canada, and Europe as well. We're going to talk a little further about all of the integration touch points, specifically on the manufacturing end, but that, of course, is a big benefit of utilizing this solution as that's all out of the box. The application runs on a rugged RF device from a variety of leading manufacturers, symbol units, things from Scion, Techlogix, Motorola, and a variety of others could be utilized in terms of your durable RF devices out there within the actual manufacturing facility. Some of the common problems that many customers come to us with and that we see in our customer base before putting in the Collect for GP application is really just a hard time managing everything that's going on from an execution standpoint within their manufacturing operations. Knowing what you have in terms of raw material, finished goods, where they're located, keeping track of the lot numbers on those products from a raw material through production and out the door is often something that people are doing manually, but it becomes a very labor-intensive and sometimes painful task. Especially if you want to try to do things like proper FIFO or FIFO rotation of raw materials or things of that nature. Specifically on the integration touch points to Vicinity Manufacturing, we have 3 main areas. First would be on the raw material picking, where we kind of have 2 flavors to do this that we've worked with Vicinity on based on some existing Vicinity users' desires. And one was to first drop the raw material ingredient list down to a rugged RF device and allow the operator to scan the item number, quantities, and lot numbers, and real-time push that into WIP and into manufacturing. Some of our other Vicinity clients said, well, we really want to still backflush based on the formula, but we would like the help pulling product, but we want to transfer it at that point in time to kind of a manufacturing staging area. And then we want to allow Vicinity itself to backflush those out based on a formula as we do incremental receipts of finished goods. So those are the two flavors we have from a raw material picking standpoint, one that's directly issuing it into production, and the other that's simply performing a transfer for later backflush based on the bill of materials or the ingredients list, if you will. The other area is live updating of your finished good receipts or your batch receiving. As finished items are coming off the line, you have the ability to increase your one or multiple finished goods that may be coming out of that production run. During that task, you can print finished good labels and have a live view automating Vicinity of what you have for completed production against the overall scheduled amount. Overall, the product can be deployed rapidly with out-of-the-box integration to all of these areas to Dynamics GP and Vicinity. So the implementation time or cycle is relatively straightforward as those integration layers are already built. Again, the biggest benefit primarily being the removal of mass amounts of manual labor and data entry that manufacturers do to keep Dynamics GP's inventory capabilities and the Vicinity manufacturing up to date. We're doing this all as a single seamless system, so there's no lag or discrepancies between different databases out there because it's all acting as one system. We've done this for a little over 400 customers, all running Dynamics GP over the past 15 years. So what areas does Collect automate? We're really trying to seamlessly automate everything from the time that raw material arrives on the receiving dock, validate those inbound ingredients, write the receivings in Dynamics GP, posting those live, updating the on-hand available inventory levels. From there, we're doing guided or non-guided putaways to stocking bin locations, if you like, within your overall warehouse, so you could track all of your inventory down to a bin level of detail, knowing exactly where those raw materials are and what lots are in what locations for proper pulling in a FIFO or FIFO enforced picking methodology during your raw material pick. So as you create your Vicinity batches, we can take those ingredients, drop those down as a guided pick ticket to the RF device, optimize that pick for an operator, provide enforcement and validation, making sure that they're doing the right stuff, allowing for overpicks or underpicks based on that formula if needed, and then pushing that into WIP. At the end of that process, doing those live updates of finished goods as we mentioned, then a guided put away of that finished item, and ultimately taking the customer sales orders that are somehow getting into Dynamics GP via EDI or manual entry or a web interface or whatever process you have going on to bring in those inbound orders into Dynamics. We're then taking that, looking at the required ship dates, dropping those picking tickets to the RF device in a organized manner based on priority or rankings of things on that sales order, guiding us in that process. And then validating the guys are pulling the right product for your customers to keep your customers happy. Confirming the lots by scanning them if they're lot or serial tracked product, most commonly lot in your case. And recording those lots and quantities fulfilled back to the sales order processing document so that you have complete traceability for recall purposes of every lot, product, and quantity that a customer got and everything that went into ultimately making that finished good. And that's kind of the flow. While in those processes, if you need to do Site transfers, maybe you have more than one warehouse, or you want to move product and rearrange it within the facility, doing bin movements, we can help you with those as well. Stock counts or cycle counts, positive or negative adjustments on the fly, label printing capabilities, quick lookups or inquiries as to what's going on or where something at, are all other components that Dynamics GP and our Collect product help you automate. Some of the main benefits, hopefully you're starting to get a sense of this already, but a live inventory, utilizing FIFO or FIFO and having that enforced via the RF device, real-time double checks and validation as everything that's being done on that handheld is checked, as well as tracked and traced. So complete traceability and reportability after the fact as to who did what, when they did it, how long it's taking for different tasks, and things along those lines. Some additional areas that we're not going to touch on too much in today's presentation, but would be happy to talk to you further about at some point, would be our Excellus OneShip product and our Pulse product. These are two modules that are fully integrated and pair with Collect for GP in a deployment. Our Excellus OneShip product adds fully integrated shipping, where right from that rugged RF device that you use to pick that customer order, you could pack it out, rate shop it if it's UPS, FedEx, or USPS, trick the printing of your shipping labels, grab that tracking numbers and shipping costs, and seamlessly write that back to the sales order information within Dynamics GP. On the Pulse side, our product helps to add business intelligence with built-in KPIs to give you live views in a browser-based format of what's going on within your operations and comparing that against key metrics. This could be accessed by a variety of personnel and different metrics that are important to different people. Who is HighJump/Excellus? Excellus is now our product brand name, the overall company being HighJump now. And we are a mid-market provider of warehouse management and logistics solutions. We're approximately a little over $150 million in revenue. We have a little over 11,000 customers now in over 23 countries with almost 800 employees working across our product lines. We really have a couple main pillars that we deal with, which are our warehouse management products, transportation management and logistics, and then our EDI product platforms. And so if you have any interest or needs in any of those other areas, we'd be happy to talk to you about those as well at some point in the future. So enough of the boring PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and jump into an actual live demo of the application. If you'll bear with me for just a minute, I'm going to go ahead and share out a different screen here. So now we're bringing up our virtual machine. And we have Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013 running here, as well as our Vicinity product, and then some of our Collect for GP dashboard components, and this smaller screen that we like to call the Collect emulator that you'll see on the right half here. I'm just going to rearrange some windows here so it's a little easier for everybody to see. Again, the Collect emulator is the exact same software that is going to be running on a rugged RF device that your operators are going to have complete mobility with within your manufacturing areas. And so that's what they would see. That's their view of the world, so to speak. Everything else you see happening to the left would be what's going on within Dynamics GP itself, or showing you where we're making those updates in the Vicinity Manufacturing modules. So we'll bounce back and forth between some of those areas as well. The very first thing that somebody would do when they come in the morning and they pick up one of these rugged RF devices, they turn it on, it would boot up to this screen and it would ask them for their username and password. So first off, this username and password is unique to the operator on the handheld. So You can have teams of people, you can run multiple shifts, they can share different devices, they're just grabbing a device that is available, and then they're entering their own credentials, to log into that RF device. And based on what they enter, their view and what they can do on this rugged handheld is all unique. So we manage the login through what's called a user group methodology. So a user group could be one or multiple individuals. And we have a little over 1,000 configuration options within our application. And the majority of those options flow all the way down to that user group level. That way you can have operators that can do dramatically different functions, capabilities, authority levels, if you will. You might set up a user group for your receiving team, different one for your raw material team. Maybe if you have multiple facilities, a team that handles just the material movements or transfers between facilities. All of that can be broken down and controlled by the group and profile that they belong to. The idea being here to make things as simple as possible for the operator, and they only see what's applicable to them. For today's demo, you'll see quite a few different areas or functions. We'll try to cover a couple of the main areas, but a typical demo takes about 2 hours. So we're going to just move through a couple of the different areas and functionality here to at least give you a flavor for our Collect for GP product working with Vicinity. So if you'll use your imagination with me, we're going to pretend that some product's arriving down at the receiving dock. And I've picked up this handheld and I'm wandering over to the receiving area. Maybe I grab a manifest or a packing slip from that driver. And I see the purchase order number that I'm going to go ahead and scan, enter, or select into my device. That's what we call the method of input. And keep in mind these devices have fully integrated laser scanners. We hope that you're scanning virtually everything you're doing, as it's the fastest and most accurate way to do it. But you certainly, if you needed to, in many cases, could select something from a list, or you could key it in if you ran across a damaged barcode label or something of that nature. Also a common theme through the rest of the demo, anytime I have this highlighted field and one of something down at the bottom, it tells me how many records are related to that highlighted field. And these lit arrow keys tell me I can navigate back and forth to scroll through that if I so desire, by either using the touch screen on my device itself or the keypad, whichever you prefer. So here I have a list of open purchase orders. These could be sorted by estimated receipt date, grouped by vendor, or anything else that you want us to look at on the header, body, or footer of that purchase order to manage what drops to a handheld. I'm going to go ahead and call it my PO 2107. And here, notice now my highlighted field is on the item number and one of 5 down at the bottom because I have 5 different raw materials that I'm going to be receiving from this vendor, Comvex. My site ID has been ordered for as my Chicago facility, and I'm operating within my Chicago facility right now, receiving that product. My first one here is all-purpose flour. We order it in a unit of measure for pounds, and we've ordered 10,000 pounds of that and received 0. It's important to note that we can support decimal places out to whatever is appropriate for you, or minimize that as well. I have most of these showing to 2 digits for the majority of the product except for raw material picking, but this can be adjusted and configured however you need it to be. I can scroll through and see each and every item that I'm expecting to come in on this PO today from the supplier Comvex, but I don't need to. If my product comes in with an identifying barcode label on it already, I can just go ahead and scan that. Now that could be a vendor barcode, a manufacturer's barcode, a UPC barcode, it doesn't matter. We add an item alias table to your Dynamics GP database to allow an unlimited linking of all of those different barcodes or iterations back to your own internal GP part number so you don't need to relabel product if it comes in with some sort of standard identifying label on it. If that's the case, I just go ahead and scan it, and then I can scan or enter my quantity. So maybe right now I scanned in a quantity of 100. Now maybe I'm going to move on and scan in another product. This one's also in pounds, but maybe it comes in sacks of 25. Or maybe the quantity varies quite a bit and I don't want to scan quantity. I want to scan the item, but I want to go ahead and enter the quantity. And so that's okay as well. You could scan or enter that quantity. However you do it, notice the system incrementally increases that quantity checked in. So as I continue to do that, my received quantity here continues to increase till if and when I enter a quantity that puts me into an over receipt mode. And then depending on how I have the system set up, I can have tolerances enabled for over receipts by a percentage if I want it, or we can look at how it's set up and defined in GP by vendor and by item if you prefer. Anything that is lot tracked or serial tracked would prompt you accordingly. Notice my butter here, as soon as I scan it, it immediately wants the lot number of that item being checked in. So we're doing a live look at your GP item master records to see whether an item is lot tracked, serial tracked, or non-tracked, and then prompting you accordingly. So that way you can never forget to enter any of that. Any of your lot attributes can also be fully supported. So if your product is expiration date tracked, or you want to capture the manufactured date or a temperature or something else that you might want to store in one of those lot attribute fields, that's fully supported as well. If you do ever try to scan an item that you maybe buy from the supplier all the time but isn't on the PO, the handheld would immediately stop you as well. So everything that can be validated is. As soon as you're done, you just hit this checkbox. I get warned that I'm doing a partial receipt here. We could generate a missing items report, and purchasing could reach out to our supplier, find out if that's going to come in a follow-up shipment. And we go ahead and live write your transaction to Dynamics GP and post it, which hopefully you saw by that window popping up there briefly to the left. And at this point, all of our on-hand and available inventory levels are now fully updated. If you choose to track to a bin level of detail, we can help you locate exactly where your product is within your facility. If you do have multi-bin turned on when we process this receipt, we typically process it to a temporary receiving bin location and then allow you to do a guided or non-guided put away. So we'll just do one of those items real quick here. I can select or scan my site ID that I'm operating in. And now I see a list of everything that's on the receiving dock. It's here, it's available, but it's not yet put away to its stocking location. Again, I can scroll through that, or I could simply grab an item and go ahead and scan it. I then either could be guided to a bin, or I could hit my function key here and see where that product is currently located within my facility. I could walk over to the bin that I wanted, scan that shelf location, now put that product in that location and assign it there, and tell the system how many I'm putting away. This is enabled so you could do split put away if needed. Notice I could put 200 away to one location, and I could put my remaining quantity of this item to a completely different bin. So there's 88 left on the receiving dock. Notice if I try to put away 90, I get a stop, but I could put away any quantity up to that. And now we know that this product is actually in 3 locations, some left on the receiving dock, some in my row A bin, and some in CO1-1-B here. This is my bin naming convention, simply identifying row, position, level, and zone, all part of my overall bin name. So now we've received product, we've put it away so we know where all those raw materials are located. And now we're going to go into our Vicinity Manufacturing modules. So at this point, we've assumed that you already have a batch out there that's been started, it's been released to the floor, and you're going to begin performing pulls or executions of raw material against that overall work order, or against that overall batch. So I'm going to go into Vicinity Picking, and this is our raw material picking function here. I select my facility, and I have a list of all of my open batches from Vicinity right now. Notice I have 8 different ones that are in a release status that I could begin pulling ingredients for. Most of these, as you can tell here, are for our chocolate cake, which I'm just a huge fan of chocolate cake, so that's why we happen to have so many of that here for you. I could scan or enter that batch number. So some of our clients print barcoded documents down to the production floor. That might flow around with some of the other things that they're doing for their personnel. So as they're pulling raw material, they could just go ahead and scan that. Or again, you could select it from this list. At this point, I now have 8 different ingredients that I need to go pull to make this chocolate cake. I can see all of the different ones here by item, the bin that I'm being guided to, which could include or exclude your receiving bin, depending on how you want to set it up, unit of measure, and quantity of ingredient needing to be pulled. Even if we are guiding you to a particular bin, you can always hit this wand key and see if the product is in additional locations, and you could pull it from an alternate location if need be. So I'm going to go to this product. I'm going to pull some right from the receiving dock in this case. Notice you have a live quantity available here, so I have 9,791 pounds of flour sitting on my receiving dock that we just checked in a few minutes ago, and I'm going to go ahead and pull some of my quantity right from there. Notice if I pick 1,000 pounds of that, then I can short pick it, and I would have 53 pounds remaining. I could also pick any quantity up to or over the amount. So if I move to my next product here, I'm being guided to CO1-1-B to pull some sugar. I could go to that location. Notice if I scan something very similar, and I'm going to key in this barcode, but it's not on that batch ingredients, my handheld would immediately recognize that. So it's, again, validating everything that it can. When I pull this product, notice I need 764 and then a fraction more. I'm going to go ahead and just pull 775, assuming maybe these come in 25-pound bags on a pallet. I get a soft warning here. It's letting me know that I'm over pulling my raw material, and I could continue or not continue. And that's definable for you as well. Lastly, for my lot tracked product here, if I go to my bin, I am guided to a particular location and a particular lot in a FIFO or FIFO enforced picking methodology. I then have to scan my item to confirm it and scan the correct lot that I'm pulling. In that case, I actually tried to hit enter, which the system won't let me do. It's actually forcing for the greatest level of validation that I pull the trigger on my scanned barcode. And notice when I do that, it now allows me to continue. We're not going to pick all the ingredients just for time purposes. I can go ahead and hit my checkbox here, and I could go ahead and move on to one of my next tasks. If I go to Vicinity and I go to my production control and my batch entry, and I look up that ticket I was using, I think was this one. If you'll bear with me a minute, we'll see. I can see under my procedure here, these are the quantities that we went ahead and picked for these 3 different items. Moving on to the receiving side, assuming some time has elapsed and we actually have some finished cakes coming off the manufacturing line, I can go ahead and select my my batch ID here as well, which we'll use 92 again. And we were making 3 different finished items, our bulk being 1,000 of our standard chocolate cake, and then some private labeled brand and a Vicinity brand here. So I see each of those finished items that was defined in my Vicinity batch ticket, and I'm going to go ahead and simply record my increased quantity of production at this point in time. So we had 1,000 scheduled. You can now see that there's 900 remaining, and 1,000 have been complete. For this one, we'll go ahead and complete 25, and our last item will go ahead and complete 5. Notice there if we do scan an item, if you already have pre-printed finished good labels and you try to scan something that is not on this batch production line, the handheld would immediately recognize that and stop you. You do also have label printing capabilities during this task if desired. So if I didn't have anything to scan yet, I could key in my increased quantity, and then I could have the system automatically generate my finished good label and send them to a label printer at the end of the production line. Just hit my checkbox when I'm done. And that go ahead and writes back the increased quantity. So if I go back to Vicinity and go to the batch entry now, I'm going to call up that same ticket. And you can see the current quantity and quantity remaining and completed have all been updated for the 3 finished goods that I had on this overall batch ticket. Hey Nick, there's a bit of background noise. I don't know if you can mute some of the other lines or where that's coming from. I don't know if that's challenging for anybody else to hear, but just thought I'd mention that. There we go. All right. So now we've increased that finished good. We could do a put away of that finished item, do a finished good stocking location. Since we just showed you that for the raw material, we're going to assume that that makes sense, and we'll go ahead and move on with ultimately picking a customer order. I already have a sales order within Dynamics GP that was created for some different items right now. Maybe these ones are still setting as these cakes are getting ready to be shipped out. But some of our other product, here I'm going into a order pick queue, and I can see all of the orders that need to be picked and processed by my warehouse staff, and I could go ahead and call up one of those individual orders. And I could go ahead and call one of these up. This is just a single line order here, very simple for my LA facility. I see the item that I need to go pull, the location where it is in bin A03-1-P, the description of that product, the readied quantity, and the quantity picked so far. I would now just go out to that location, scan the item, scan the location. I can hit this wand key and see every other location where this finished item is down to the moment. So if something was wrong in the algorithm of where we were guiding you to, or you arrived there and there was an insufficient quantity, then you could see all of those other locations live, go to one of those other locations, scan the item, scan the bin, and then confirm the quantity that you're pulling. If you did anything incorrectly in terms of trying to overpick or underpick, maybe you missed something, the handheld could warn you that you've only partially picked the order and update that accordingly within Dynamics GP as a partially pulled sales order. Or if everything was done perfectly like it was here, we're going to go ahead and change that sales order to a fully complete status. We typically put that product in a shipping bin location, where now all you have to do is transfer your orders to an invoice and post those invoices. By leaving it in that shipping bin temporarily, we're really helping with stock counts and cycle counts so that you can exclude your shipping and receiving bins from your stock count parameters and do a live count based on exactly what you have in its locations and not need to worry about having every order transferred to an invoice and posted before you do that clean count. Again, for time purposes, I'm not going to go into too many other areas, but I just want to take you into a couple of menus really quick. You can see in our inventory menu here, we could help you with other things like site-to-site transfer transactions, positive or negative adjustments on the handheld. And with GP 2013 or newer, you can do reason code selection for those adjustments or transfers as well if you desire. And that can affect the specific defined underlying GL account associated with that. With physical inventories, you could go into our collect dashboard here, define what it is that you want to count in a physical inventory, and then go out on the RF device to perform the actual manual counting of that. So the replacing of pencil and paper and clipboards, enabling your operators to walk around with these rugged RF devices and scan everything that was predefined to be counted, and then we're writing those results back live to this dashboard where those differences can be reviewed, compared, reported on, and ultimately processed within Dynamics GP. In our miscellaneous menu, you often come across a reason you have a damaged barcode label or just need to print a label on the fly for any reason, you can do that. Maybe you've ordered some new racking and you are at a management level operator on the handheld. You could even create a bin on the fly or change its assigned bin location for it. Just as a couple quick examples that we can do for you in there. In our inquiries menu, you could walk up to any item you want. You could scan that item. You could select the site that you want the data on, and we'll tell you exactly how many you have on hand live, how many are already allocated against customer orders, and when you last received a shipment of that product. These are all inquiries that you can do directly within Dynamics GP, but we just like to extend some of that functionality out to the rugged RF handheld. So an operator who just needs a quick question and answer on something related to where my product is or how many I have on hand or what's in a bin or where a particular lot was for recall purposes, all can be very quickly answered on a handheld without needing to go back to a PC to do that. We do offer returns processing functionality for RMA receipts or returns for SOP that could be done on the handheld as well. And in our enhanced multi-bin, we offer some utilities to flag a bin for QA, to freeze a bin and lock it down completely so nothing could come in or go out of it. Or you can establish quantity min-maxes and do replenishments from bulk storage locations to forward pick locations. Absolutely everything that's done on this RF device is tracked and traced back to a SQL table that we've added to your Dynamics GP database. So if you go to transaction logging here, you can very easily look at everything that we've done in today's demo thus far, by date, by operator. I can even drill into the details here of the receipt that we did and see how many individual scans we made, when those scans occurred, who did it, how long it took them for total elapsed time here. And even if you pulled the trigger on the scanner or selected something from a view. So even the input method is tracked, captured, and reported on. You can do whatever you like with this information. It can help for building or looking at performance metrics, who's my most efficient receiver, who's my most efficient picker, or audit trail purposes, show me every operator that touched this lot because we need to do a recall and I want to truly understand what happened. You could see literally that that lot of milk, as an example, came into your facility a week ago, that John checked that in at 7:59 in the morning, that it was 5 separate scans of full containers of X quantity or gallons in them, that Mike put it away 3 hours ago, that 2 days after sitting in your freezers or refrigerators, it was pulled by John, pushed into a batch to make some chocolate cake, and that ultimately those cakes were produced over the course of 2 days, and that Bobby increased on-hand availability of your finished items, and Michael, as I'm running out of names to think of here, ultimately picked that product for your customer order, shipped it out the door, pulled it properly, and here's the exact lot we got, and there was a problem with that milk, and we know everything that happened, when it happened, and how long it was there. So full recall and reporting capabilities based on everything that's going on that device. Well, hopefully we haven't put you to sleep. I think that's it today for our overall overview. Hopefully that's given you a pretty good flavor of what our Collect product can do, how it integrates and automates Dynamics GP inventory real time, the integration touch points to the Vicinity batches for raw materials and finished goods, and gives you a good overview of the application. We're going to go ahead and open it up to questions that we're happy to try to answer for you. Also, if you'd like to reach out to us after this and ask those questions individually or dig into any more details or see a further demo, we're very happy to help you with that as well. So Nick, if you want to take your hands off mute and see if anybody has any questions or if you've been communicated any along the way.
Yep, I've got a couple here, and then also if anyone else has a question, please just go ahead and type that into the chat box. Rob, our first question is, what is the implementation process and what is the length of a typical implementation?
Sure. So you have both time on site and total elapsed time, so kind of two-part answer. Average total elapsed time from contract signing to full go live on the application usually spans 90 to 120 days. So that would be the overall duration to get the application fully deployed. For a typical customer, time on site is 2 to 3 on-site trips, one to kind of spec everything out at a very granular level of detail and produce our deliverable documents around exactly how the product is going to be deployed for your specific scenarios. And then a secondary trip where we will do the core installation, configuration, and training. The bulk of that work all happens over the course of a solid week, and then it's backfilled and front-filled by a little bit of remote work by our teams working with you over the web.
Great. Okay, we've got a second question here. Name a few of the companies that are using the solution. Basically, I think the question here is, what is the kind of most common industry footprint of the solution so far?
Well, it really spans a lot. It's kind of a funny term. We're known overall with this product as a horizontal vertical. Our Collect product only works with Dynamics GP, so we don't go after any other markets except Dynamics GP users. Because of that, we have a very diverse customer base. We have some, certainly more on the Vicinity side, chemical companies, food companies, pharma companies would be some that we have more common customers in, often those that have restrictions and validation requirements around keeping tracks of those lots. So primarily, I guess, some of those target areas. But again, a very diverse overall customer base.
Rob, this next question is about kind of the overall options in general for the GP market. And if you could just explain kind of what makes Collect for GP a better bet than some of the other options in the GP market.
Sure. So a couple of general things about the Collect product. Again, it's been around for over 15 years in various forms and iterations. It's certainly been rebuilt from the ground up several times actually within that overall cycle for current technology and everything else. But that gives us a real deep understanding of how people use Dynamics GP because this product is built exclusively for it. So you'll find from sales to consultants to support, we not only understand manufacturing, we understand Dynamics GP, and how to support all of those areas throughout that. Also, it is literally the only product that is both a shared database and is processing those transactions live. So there's a few other products that have been written with eConnect or other things that do share the GP database at a lighter level of functionality, but they don't process those transactions instantaneously by pulling the posting triggers in Great Plains. And because of that, you then limit the benefit because you still have to have manual intervention to process transactions. So that would be a distinct advantage for us. The shared database, the number of clients that we have, over 400 Dynamics GP customers, and then it comes down to a lot of the little nuances in the depth scope, and stability of the product as a whole.
Great. Well, it looks like that's about all we've got for today. So definitely want to thank everyone for taking a little time out of their precious day and spending it with Rob and I. We will send everyone a copy of the recording, and we'll also forward along our contact information. And we look forward to following up with each of you directly. Rob, anything else for you?
No, I think that's it. I think we finished up a little early for you. I'm sure everybody will appreciate that. And like Nick said, if you guys do have any other questions you want to ask one-on-one or drill into the specifics of what your requirements are and whether we could accommodate them, we're more than happy to do that for you. So we'll follow up with how to get a hold of us, as well as a copy of the presentation today, and let us know whatever we can do to assist. We're looking forward to it. Have a great day.
Thanks, Rob. Take care.